We like to think of our minds as closed systems. We weigh our options, we make a choice, and we act. We view our personal agency as absolute. But look at New York City in 1929. The Easter parade was packed with spectators, and in the middle of the crowd, a group of young women did something highly provocative for the time. They lit up cigarettes in public. They called them torches of freedom, framing the act as a bold strike for female emancipation and equality. The press ate it up, and women across the country started smoking outdoors. Except none of it was a spontaneous protest. The entire event was orchestrated by a public relations consultant named Edward Bernays. His client, the American Tobacco Company, wanted to double their market by getting women to smoke outside. Bernays happened to be the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He took his uncle's theories on the subconscious and weaponized them, consulting psychiatrists to figure out how to equate cigarettes with male power in the minds of the public. He gave his secretary a script, hired debutantes to march, and alerted the press. If a defining act of female rebellion was actually written by a corporate architect to sell tobacco, we have to ask how much of our daily decision-making belongs to us. Bernays operated on a specific belief. He thought the masses were largely irrational, driven by herd instincts and hidden desires. To maintain order, he argued, an intelligent minority had to consciously manipulate the habits and opinions of the public. He did this by inventing the third-party technique. Instead of a company praising its own product, Bernays would create a front group, like the Temperature Research Foundation, to push his client's agenda under the guise of public interest. Decades later, in October 1990, a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl testified before a congressional caucus. She described Iraqi soldiers pulling premature babies out of incubators and leaving them on a cold floor to die. The testimony saturated television networks and swayed American public opinion toward military action against Saddam Hussein. Months after the first bombs fell, the truth came out. The teenager was the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador. Her testimony was orchestrated by a major PR firm working for a front group funded by the Kuwaiti government in exile. Our choices on what to buy or who to fight are heavily shaped by a manufactured reality. The architects designed these events to bypass our logic and aim directly at our deepest fears. We don't make decisions in a vacuum. Once we leave grand social manipulation and look at the physical and digital environments we navigate every day, we find another layer of influence. Behavioral economists call it libertarian paternalism. The term seems like a contradiction. You are totally free to choose whatever you want, but the architect structures the options to gently nudge your behavior toward their preferred outcome. They minimize choice overload by hiding alternatives, or establish a default option, like auto-enrolling you, so you must actively work to opt out. The architect rarely needs to force a decision. They design the path of least resistance so smoothly that you happily walk down it yourself. We can go even deeper. If we bypass the external environment and plunge into the human brain, we hit the clinical reality of perception without awareness. Cognitive scientists use a technique called the masked repetition priming paradigm. They flash a visual stimulus, like a word or a number, to a test subject for 0.02 seconds. That is too fast for the conscious mind to register seeing anything at all. This chart compares success in a decision-making task between an experimental and control group. The subliminal prime bypassed conscious filtering. The experimental group solved the problems with an 85% success rate, while the unprimed control group managed only 32%. At the deepest biological level, our problem-solving strategies can be preloaded by an external force before our conscious mind is aware a choice exists. By the time you consciously arrive at a decision, it has likely already run through a gauntlet of influence. It was filtered through social engineering, nudged by the physical or digital environment, and primed by subconscious stimuli. This invisible architecture is entirely neutral. The exact same mechanisms used to manufacture consent for a war are used by public health officials to gently nudge populations toward better diets or higher retirement savings. Political scientists describe this dynamic as chains of silver. If large populations are going to exist with iron chains of force, they have to accept the silver chains of persuasion. Total freedom from influence is a myth. We cannot escape this architecture. But by recognizing how our consent is engineered, we can finally see the silver chains and take the first real step toward reclaiming our agency.